On the weekend of August 11th and August 12th, 2017, a Friday night into a Saturday afternoon, extreme violence broke into the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia. Virginia is the state that I was born in. This is a very special episode of Messier Mantra. We're going to present a documentary in the most rawest of forms, aftermath, a Press X presentation that's going to explore the lives of the people left in the wake of this situation. We're going to watch the full 27-minute production, and then we're going to come back with the filmmaker, Press X. Right now, please watch Aftermath right here on Messier Mantra.
What I saw is the failures of what had happened here, the most glaring things, and that's allowing the alt-right groups to also commingle with some of the socialist groups, the Antifa groups and such. And the city here didn't quarantine one group from the other, they actually threw them together. So to me, it was just a natural clash. The city put two obviously diametrically opposed ideas together, and we're expecting, I guess, people to act civilly. Shut down daily life. It shut down businesses for a day. And a lot of these businesses for the weekend, one day off for the weekend in private business, you've lost a chunk of money. And they were shutting down out of fear. And apparently, I guess it was rightfully so. I saw violence on both sides. I saw physical violence, destruction of property on both sides. I didn't see any arrests. So if people aren't being held accountable, what do you think is going to happen next? I mean, they're just going to continue to next city, next city, next city, and see how much of a rouse they can get out of people. And unfortunately, I think if everybody just had stayed home and gave them their little, whatever assembly by themselves, they would have gotten tired and left.
Okay, and you had some involvement with the counter-protesting down here?
Yes, I came down here to join the counter-protesters in their protest against the Ku Klux Klan and the neo-Nazis that were here to spread hate in this town. We marched from the church. Dr. Cornel West was there speaking, so he gave a very powerful speech, and then we linked arms and we marched to Emancipation Park, which is formerly known as Lee Park, and we stood in front of the militia, and it was just so powerful to link arms and stand in front of those militia. We're part of the Ku Klux Klan and the Nazis. They were spewing racial slurs our way. They were saying things like, you will not replace us. A lot of racial things coming towards our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters, and it was just a lot of hate, but still in the face of hate, I did not seem to be scared of that.
Do they still think that they're Christians and acting in God's will? Is that part of the white supremacist thing these days?
They are definitely not Christians.
I agree.
Yes.
But do they call themselves as such?
I think they do feel that they are.
Since I've been walking around town today, things seem, I'm not from around here, but normal-ish. Is that the feeling?
Yeah, it's really peaceful. Yesterday we attended the candlelight vigil for Heather Heyer, the young lady that was murdered here by the white supremacists.
What's your plans from here moving on to stay involved in the movement?
I've always been involved politically, so I'm an activist back home in Iowa, and I will just continue to, stay informed about what's going on. And I came out here, on my own time. I took some time off work to come out here to support this cause, social justice and the fight against injustice in general, nationwide, not just in my own home state of Iowa, but nationwide. Whenever it arises, it's something really important to me, and if I can be there, I will always be there to support the movement.
To me, it's like ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they even let it happen. And like when it did happen, there was nobody here to stop it from happening. Even though there was cops out here, they still let it go on. Also, when they knew it was going to be unlawful, but they still let it happen. But my best option for all of y'all is just stay safe, stay inside. Don't even come outside entertainment. Just stay inside. Let them do what they gotta do. Because for real, if you let them do what they gotta do and nobody's out there supporting, they just gonna want to leave just because they ain't gonna have basically nobody out there to disagree on what they're doing. So then they gonna know what they're doing is wrong. So to them, they ain't gonna have no other choice but to leave from that area. So how I see it is just let them do what they gotta do.
Burn themselves out.
Yeah, burn themselves. Just let them do what they gotta do. Let them speak to themselves pretty much.
Yeah.
When they see that they're speaking to themselves, they're gonna realize that, oh, ain't nobody out here listen to what we have to say.
How did that make you feel in your own hometown? Like, were you thinking like, damn, we're past this shit, or we're never gonna be past this?
Oh, we never gonna be past this.
Never past
It's
it.
only the beginning, to be honest. In my opinion, it's only the beginning. It's gonna get worse and worse from here on out.
I hate to agree with you, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's all it is. It's gonna get worse from here on out.
I mean, talking to people yesterday and today, it really doesn't seem like people seem to be that affected. Everybody is upset at the fact that these people would come to a city and a state that's not theirs just to raise hell, in a sense. But, like, as soon as they left, it seemed like that whole mindset did as well. Like, people really could care less about these white supremacists. They were upset that they were here. They were upset that they were causing trouble. But the second they left, it was business as usual. Everybody's talking about how, you know, they don't understand why people could be like that. This isn't something that's going to be won over with a protest. This isn't something where meeting these people at the front line is really going to solve anything, because what people need to understand is that, like, this has been solved. There was laws passed for this 50 plus years ago.
Yeah.
It's different if we're talking about, like, gay rights or something like that, where when you have 10, 15,000 people show up, it's like, oh shit, maybe we have something wrong, let's change these laws. But this is just solely this stuff has been passed. It's just the people are the way they are. And in our lifetime, we're not going to get away from this. I feel like there are some people who probably have been around black people, or just people of color, or just minorities in general, and have been around their whole life. If you went to public school, you were around minorities. It didn't not happen. So these people have dealt with minorities. They have dealt with the people they claim to hate so much. But it seems like I said, like that, it's something that's not going to go away, but it seems like to me it's more scared for themselves. When you don't have something to fight for yourself, you're going to fight against everything else.
What empowers them is the history of Anglo-Saxon domination. Africa has never really had a single unifying ruler. Egypt in its own did its own thing. But I mean, if you look throughout history, whites, through some pretty horrible means, have managed to keep the upper hand. And this, rather than disgust like it would a normal person, like colonialism and things like that, it finds a way to empower them.
I'm a big sports fan. I listen to Mike and Mike radio in the morning. I watched First Take this morning at 10 a.m. Both of them, sports shows. This is a sports station. Started off with what's happening in Charlottesville. The NFL season that just started because they're preseason. NBA, which is in the off season, there's trades going on. MLB, which is in a very heated playoff race. Like, there's actual sports stuff going on.
I don't know what kind of media you guys are being presented here, but to us and the rest of the world, and like the British tabloids I'm reading on Facebook, it looks like, wow, okay, this is it. I guess you know, it's time to enlist for the North again.
These white supremacists, these people who don't want to deal with anybody but people of their skin color, were carrying tiki torches. They went to Walmart to buy $5 tiki torches.
Well, you'd think a real man's man who's an American white, you know, whatever, would be able to whittle his own torch.
Right.
You know? Like, come on.
But, one funny thing that I saw, or funny, interesting, but also funny thing that I've read up while I was just going through everything was, there was a gentleman who said, you can't be an American and also, wave a Nazi flag. In all of the crowds, I didn't really see too many American flags. I saw failed attempt flags. There was the Confederate flag, which doesn't stand for anything. It was a failed movement.
Yeah, which Lee and Grant both said should never be flown again.
And then there was the Nazi flag, which...
With free speech to the extent of any amount of free speech, as long as we're also going to freely consequence.
So, and yeah.
Like, I mean, sure, you can walk in here, throw a Nazi salute, scream blood in the soil, but I'm probably going to hit you.
Walking around with the torches, which was very significant for the KKK, which was like part of their lynching plan. I don't want to say plan, but like routine.
It's their thing.
They would do a torch walk. I feel like that becomes borderline hate speech, if not just full-out hate speech, because now you're trying to send a message of, hey, they did this back in the day, it should work now. At about 9:30, my employee called me and just told me, like, hey, I'm walking back to my house and I just saw a bunch of people gathering with torches and I think they're going to go on a torch walk. So the counter-protesters, put it that way, counter-protesters. The counter-protesters Friday night found out about the torch walk, knew where these people would be going. So the counter-protesters went to the Jefferson statue, memorial, whatever it is, and just formed a circle around it. The protesters then went to the Jefferson statue and circled these people with their torches.
Imagine if a Black Lives demonstration went to any of these lengths. There are torches, there are people, it's just... I'm not in favor of any racial extremity. I'm saying they're all crazy. Everyone needs to settle down.
As far as the Black Lives Matter movement goes, I don't have a problem with it. This is America. We are literally less than a century from integration. Like, it's barely been over 50 years. There is systemic racism in America.
Absolutely.
Maybe not with everybody, but I'm a big sports fan, so this is a pretty good way to relay it. Like Colin Kaepernick, for example.
Because we all want to live in North Korea, where you're forced to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
There have been 7 NFL teams who have signed a quarterback not as good as him, who don't have the resume that he does, and then also gotten rid of that quarterback. Still looking for a job.
We didn't know what to expect exactly. We've never been a part of something like this. We're from Miami, Florida. But the whole situation is just completely ridiculous and out of hand. I mean, a young woman died, due to hate by people who just want to, judge people based on the color of their skin.
You're from the South.
We are from Miami.
Racism is a plague that knows no boundaries.
I think it's more of privileged white suburban males between 20 and 35 that seem like they're owed something in this country.
They're not even owed. They've already taken possession.
Yeah, and we're from the South as well. We grew up listening to Hank Williams. Mm-hmm. We just can't understand what possessed these young kids to come here and show that type of hate.
Polo shirts.
Yeah.
And boat shoes.
It's a liberal city, and people of Charlottesville don't tolerate this type of thing. I mean, this is an educated town, a privileged town that still cares about rights of others.
So after the torch incident, the next day kind of bubbled over into a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah.
Now, what do you feel happened there? Were there failures? Were the cops not handling their business?
I mean, the city just completely failed. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I mean, they didn't protect the bigots either.
So were they not separate? Well, no, I agree. We can't have anyone being assaulted on the streets.
No one, either or.
No one.
But
so,
I don't think the protesters I don't think they ignited anything. These guys came with shields, with bats, with mace.
They came ready for.
They had their own security force with army fatigue,
helmets, and
higher powered rifles than the police.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is no longer a joke. This isn't a boys' club thing. Like I feel like from what I saw in these pictures, I said, "Oh my God, this is 1940s Germany in my home country."
That's exactly what we were talking about.
Is that? I want to hear from ground zero. Is that what we are dealing with right now in America?
Feels like the 1960s.
Now, what do you think about Trump being completely silent yesterday?
He's a catalyst for all of this.
He is without a doubt the puppet master
That's
here.
why they endorsed him.
No doubt, because he gives them legitimacy. This isn't a country of white people.
No, white people took the country to begin with.
This is indigenous people's country. We should be privileged just to be here as the white race.
The black culture that has gave us so many things, jazz music, telephones, I mean, all kind of things. I mean,
what are we gonna do without jazz and rock and roll?
you know what I mean? There wouldn't be rock and roll without jazz.
And hip hop, what are we gonna do without that? I mean, the girl who worked right here next door who died, literally next door to this restaurant. She was an employee.
Young white woman. That's what they want to preserve, right? But they slaughtered the one
a 32-year-old woman,
you know, from the black culture or from the Spanish culture.
And all these guys they're not even from Charlottesville. They're all from Ohio.
From
some
Ohio,
shit like that.
And where else? Kentucky.
Yeah. You can see this has done nothing but this has hurt their cause tenfold. They're being outed everywhere. Their own family doesn't want anything to do with it.
So if anything now, like Charlottesville is like locked together.
Well, yeah, this town has always been like that. This is a liberal town.
Together.
Any educated town that has a college and people are smart, they're not going to tolerate things like this. The only thing I say is, I wish for 1 second that they would go to a town like Chicago, because they would be murdered.
Or Miami or LA.
They'd be shot in the street.
Because they wouldn't be able to protest.
No, they will not stand for that, and they're too coward to go to a big city.
When you come
they want to come to a nice small town where they know city officials are going to look out for everyone. But go ahead, go to the ghetto.
You come with
go to the hood,
pepper spray.
Or go to our hood in Miami.
Yeah,
you will not survive.
Where I grew up in Miami, you will not.
We believe that Jason Kessler, the organizer of the rally, needs to be arrested. He's basically bringing along a gang activity. Whenever there's been any gang activity in anywhere in the States, the person who conspires is always held accountable. He conspired to bring all these people here to put fear in our communities of color. I'm Latino, but really who you need to find is an African American to talk to, because they can tell you that they have been beaten down, literally now, figuratively before. I was at the rally. I'm a soccer mom. I don't protest. The only thing I do is share memes all day and share articles, and that's my way of protesting. I felt compelled to come out. The police on the day of the rally did not have our backs.
This is where we are right now. We are at the police station. Signs for the guy who mowed down that poor woman.
A few feet away, a boy, I don't know how old he is, I don't know his name, but there was an African American young man who was beaten to a pulp over there, right in that station. Right there in that garage, right adjacent to the police station. He was beaten to a pulp. But the police were not here for us. They were here for General Lee. And he's doing well, if anyone's concerned about that. They guarded him and saved him, and they guarded the Nazis. The Nazis pushed the police officers. They did whatever. They manipulated them. They did everything they could to keep them on their sides.
Was it the same response police gives to Black Lives Matter?
Hell no.
Or
no.
Native Americans out west in their water?
Hell no.
No, it was not?
Not even, and how about immigrants? Hell no. How about working immigrants? Hell no. How about black men? Hell no. No.
So any human being that is not
gays, LBG, everybody was out here. Trans, there were gays, there were African Americans, which this is really about. There were Hispanics, there were Muslims and Middle Eastern people. Everybody was out here for a cause, and the cause was to come together and not allow these people to put fear into us.
And you had zero backup from the police?
We had zero backup. The night before, they were. I wasn't there, but the night before they beat up some kids protesting at UVA. I mean, this is a UVA town. Don't they get any protection? A few feet from that intersection where they came down with that car, we were standing there and we heard like an explosion, and everybody collapsed like dominoes. I was with my significant other, my daughter, and my friend, and we ran. We split up when it happened, and then afterwards, me and my daughter were the only two that were together from our group. We leaned up against the wall and we saw all the people that were hurt. There were people that were bleeding. There were people who had broken limbs. There were people who were just throwing up from the shock, things like that. And right before this accident, which it's not being talked about, and there were several people in the parking lot, we were chanting, they were attempting to exit the parking lot, and they sideswiped a white lady who was walking. They hit her. The police were, and let me tell you, the police were there in riot gear, and there were several of them, and they were Charlottesville PD. And when the lady got sideswiped, everybody just ran after the car. Everybody except for guess who? And the people were trying to, you know, get that car and filming and running, and we ran all the way around that block, and that car just sped off. It was a Lexus. That hasn't been talked about. There's no video. I don't know if there is any video on it, but I know that there's video of everybody chasing the car. And that's who was protecting us, was ourselves. It's been like this systematically.
Right up until the points where now we're allowing torches. And
yeah. It's been systematic oppression. I haven't lived here long. I've lived here for only 12 years. If you find a resident that's been here forever, they'll tell you. There are so many stories. If you Google Vinegar Hill, things like that, you'll see. You can understand this town. It's a beautiful, picturesque town, but it has its little, you know, secrets. And the secrets are that people are oppressed here, and people are suffering, and now they're allowing them to physically beat people and physically scare them. As we were leaving the protest, we were walking through Friendship Court, and we saw a small pickup. I don't even know the color of it because I was so damn nervous, but it was a small pickup with about a few guys in the back and one guy driving in the front. He gets out at the stop sign, he does a little jig, and he shows us his Pepe shirt, and I start screaming F Pepe and this and that and the other, and they give us the Heil Hitler. Kessler is responsible. He needs to be held accountable. If we're not going to arrest the people who actually did all the beatings and actually tortured everybody and terrorized and stalked people, then we should hold him accountable. The same way we hold gang members accountable for what their gangs do, we should hold him accountable, because this is a gang.
The best advice that I can give is, these people, they're coming looking to fight. If there's no one there to fight, they'll leave. You go home, you tell your friends, your neighbors, anybody that'll listen, stay at home. Stay at home. Just ignore them. They want the attention. When you give them that attention, they win. That's it. Stay at home. That's your safest bet. This is my hometown. I'm 56 years old, and I have never seen anything like this in my hometown. My wife and I got up yesterday morning, and we rode through the downtown area, and I broke down crying. I am physically and mentally exhausted. I never wanted my children to have to experience anything like that. Now they have, and also my grandchildren have. And to me, that's not cool.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't want his children or his grandchildren to have to experience anything like that either. And people with my color of skin are the problem here. I was not down there as a counter protester yesterday, but I've been feeling at odds with myself. I've been feeling ashamed of myself. Like I should have been down there as a counter protester, because I don't believe.
You did the right thing by staying at home.
You're warning very clearly for safety and out of love to stay home. And I as a similar human being, can identify that how can we sit home?
But this man just told me he was glad I stayed home.
For me,
we just made friends today.
For me, the best part of this weekend is I made a new friend. Her name is Angie. And she's cool.
This very weekend you made a new friend.
Yeah. So they did bring something positive. I met Angie, and she's cool. I love her.
I had the courage to say, hey, I heard him feeling hurt. I had the courage to say, because you might have thought, get away from me, white lady. You're part of the problem.
No.
I've heard it said that if people just stop talking about racism might go away.
No.
No?
Racism in my opinion, racism will always be around. It goes both ways. There are black people that don't like white people. There are white people that don't like, there are white people that don't like white people. How can you honestly say someone you've never met before a day in your life, you don't know anything about them, but you don't like them because of the color of their skin? Come sit on my porch with me. Let's drink a beer.
Yeah.
Let's get to know each other. I guarantee you we'll be friends.
It's universal.
We'll be friends. I'd much rather have a friend than an enemy any day.
That's what's important.
There's going to come a day
Is
and
us
time
being friends and lots of other people being friends and getting to know each other and talking about it. Talking about that.
It's really, really hard to hate someone that likes you, huh?
There's going to come a day and time in each one of our lives that you're going to need a friend. Regardless of their color, you're going to need a friend.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple.
Sorry that it's coming to your town.
I really am.
Well, now,
like
I have a little bit of hope to bring home and show some people
like
back
I said,
home.
Preach it. Stay at home.
We're trying to heal, but we're both
Stay at home. These people are looking for a fight. If there's no one there for them to fight, they will leave. As long as there's, it only takes 2 people for them to fight. They've won. They've accomplished their mission. Supposedly they came here to protest about a statue. You didn't hear a word about a statue.
No, I didn't.
All you saw was fighting. Come on, these people are looking to fight. They're a bunch of angry people for no reason, and they just want to fight. Okay, they're assigned to that park over there. Let them have the park for the day. You take your family and you go to another park. It's done.
Aftermath of film presentation by my guest at this time on Messier Mantra Press X.
Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for being here. First of all, congratulations on making this doc in very timely fashion. Today is just mere days after the situation in Charlottesville, and then compounded by Boston. And for those watching the show, probably a lot of questions. And one thing, of course, is the elephant in the room is you're wearing a mask that says press with the X. And if you want to talk about that first, why the mask, what the significance, why you're wearing it, what do you have to say about that?
I'm wearing it because I am in the production industry, and I'm spacing what I'm doing right now from the fictional writing and directing that I do. What I'm doing right now is just documenting. And X is the unknown. It's not really too hard to figure out who I am, but I'm presenting myself as something different right now. And press, it's more or less satire, like all press at this point.
Well, that's an interesting statement.
Who can't be press? Prove I'm not fake news.
Right. So the Press X, in my conversations with you before the taping the show, is also a way of saying that anyone can be Press X, but you are Press X.
Do you have a camera phone? Go do it. Filmic is an amazing, amazing app. It will turn any iPhone 6 or 7 into production level camera.
Right, because yes, that particular app, but also in general, things like YouTube, Vimeo, people have
there's
camera
endless
phones.
access. We choose to send memes.
Right.
We make the conscious decision to meme about social injustices or social justices. We pretend to have points of view, and we put no action into it. And that really started to get to me. As this election divided the country in a way that no election that I'm aware of before, none in our lifetime at least.
Right.
But I tried my best to stay completely neutral. I have a lot of friends that were ardent Trump supporters, and I have a few less of them now. I have friends that are very left, not just socialists, but identify as communists. And both of these ideals, the left and the right, seem equally insane to me.
Okay.
Equally insane. And I'll get to, we just watched what happens when the right goes crazy. The other day in Boston, we watched what happens when the left goes crazy. And
It's just like almost everyone in that doc said, everyone should have stayed home. Stay home with your loved ones. That's that. No one's here. There's no atmosphere of political awareness. We're not trying to argue any points here. We're not trying to convince anyone of our point of views being more valid. This is a concerted effort by, who knows? I'm not going to get into, you know, shadow government type things and conspiracies like that. But I
well,
mean,
you can if you want. I mean, because
well, I don't know. I'm not going to speak on things I don't know. I think there's a lot, way too much of that going on in the world. I don't know who's pulling the strings really.
Right.
But it's definitely a concerted effort to keep us fighting amongst each other and not unified.
Well, what you just said, I find interesting because I see what you just said. You said a few really pivotal things, and the idea, the concept that people, whether you want, I'll just use the term people, first of all. People who have less power, and what is power? Power in this country, at least, is money and influence and things of that nature, seem to be pitted against each other or baited to fight each other in order that a ruling elite can dominate and do what the hell they want.
On a very systemic level.
Right.
It's broken down. Our laws, our justice system is quite biased. You can just look at demographics of, you know, incarcerations, arrests, police murders.
Sure.
They'll keep, while they'll put an African American in jail for 40+ years for stealing a rack of ribs, for stealing food, they'll let a privileged white college guy just literally just do whatever he wants. Rape a passed out girl? Sure, no problem. Wouldn't want to put you in jail and hurt your college experience. Now, these aren't accidents. These are out in the open. They're doing this intentionally. I hear that. I'm infuriated.
Right.
I mean, that's our natural reaction to anything. Fury. We have to fight that. The knee-jerk reaction. Of course, these things are outrageous, but to commit more atrocities and more outrages as a reaction, that's not really logical.
Well, that's, I mean, the biblical expression of, you know, two wrongs don't make a right, or blind, you know, put a blind me, blind you, or both blind, or something to that nature. It is very frustrating. What I want to think about the positive terms of the people I saw in the doc just now, and just for any filmmakers out there, this is such
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, go
for
ahead.
any filmmakers out there, this was an extremely rushed project.
Right. There's a work in progress. There's some typos and stuff,
I mean,
obviously. Charlottesville was misspelled and so forth.
I felt that the people needed to hear what the people on Ground Zero were actually saying.
Right.
Because I don't know about you, but I didn't see a word of that in any of the mainstream
No,
news.
I didn't. And I give you a lot of credit for the quick turnover of this piece, because literally this is 8 or 9 days ago.
The credit goes to the people that were willing to speak to me.
Right.
I personally felt like a vulture. Hey, I just heard you guys are really having a really terrible time. I thought I'd come down with my camera, is how I felt. But I knew Boston was coming up.
Right.
You know, and like they were talking, like they mentioned, they won't pull this in a big city. What will happen in a big city? They'll get killed. And they were chased out pretty quick. And then there was a march on, you know, right down Hancock Street, and riotous violence for no reason. It was really disheartening all around.
Okay, but let's
Yeah,
first
sorry,
of all, as Press X, I'll give you credit, and give yourself a little credit too, for even having the courage or the moxie or whatever you want to call it to go to the scene of this situation, this horrible situation, crime against humanity. So don't beat yourself up for covering it, because that's what journalists do.
Yeah.
You know, and so whether it's, I would just give you some credit here.
I really appreciate that. It's been much harder to keep myself uninvolved. I wanted to let this pass. I was hoping a few months into the presidency, all of my friends would be friends again. I was hoping that a lot of the things Trump was saying was just tall talk to get the boat shoe wearing votes, and that, you know, hopefully he'd fade into just doing nothing. But it's really clear at this point that we're living in very defining times. Now, I made a statement in the documentary that it felt like we're living in 1940s Germany, and I want to amend that at this point.
Okay.
What I'm seeing now is much closer to the Cultural Revolution in China. I think with the left and the right being equally dramatic and extreme in their views and the lengths they're willing to go to achieve their goals, the left has a more chaotic nature. Like anytime socialists take over anywhere, when the Winter Palace was stormed in 1917 during the Bolshevik Revolution, the entirety of their lofty, ambitious morals for the People's Revolution was put on hold for a few days so they could drain the wine cellars.
Okay, right.
You know what I mean? It's just these sets of they're setting themselves to some really high moral standards here, rigid moral standards that they're absolutely willing to attack someone over or kill someone over, when they themselves are not living by them.
Okay, so hypocrisies.
Hypocrisy all around.
Okay.
And when there's not hypocrisy, it's just lies.
One thing that concerns me, and I don't hear anyone else saying that, maybe it's been said, but sometimes I think when people hear the word Republican and Democrat, somehow Republican automatically lends itself. Here's Republican, and suddenly then racist is right there. If you hear Democrat, then it's liberal or snowflake. People, because we hear these things beaten into our heads over and over again, if you hear Republican, you think conservative, 55-year-old white guys.
They label us red and blue states.
That's what I'm saying, right.
Like, yeah, that's just another way to put formal labels and divides. And the funny thing is, as we try to fight this government that's doing this, we're putting more labels on ourselves. Oh, I'm Antifa. Oh, I'm alt-right. Oh, no, we're humans.
Right.
We're humans, that's it. Like, we can argue about, I suppose, what kind of humans there are, but I mean, we're still just humans.
Well, even the term race, aren't we all in the human race? But somehow, if you really look into the scientific nature of race, ethnicity, heritage, stuff like that, it seems like to just call, an African-American person or a black person different than a Caucasian or a white person or a European, whatever you want to say, to throw the word race, it makes it seem like, well, no, we're not dogs and cats. We're all people. So it seems like the terminology is divisive from the get-go.
Yes. Same thing with borders and flags.
Right.
These are imaginary concepts that wouldn't be natural to humans unless there was an element of someone wanting control or domination.
Well, and now we're getting into deeper principles too, because I mean, we could go there.
This is all one principle. This is all one problem. We have one problem right now. That's the complete disconnect from reality and actual association of what's going on in the entirety of. I think that might be me. I'm sorry.
So
we have disconnection from the entirety of what's really going on with what we want to be going on. It's something like somewhere around Andy Warhol and pop culture or pop art, art stopped being challenging. Now it's a reference, it's satire, it's a can that we all recognize. Art's no longer challenging you, it's no longer making you think. It's just a thing that's there. And now we've done that with just about everything.
Everything is a parody or a pop culture reference to something else, and how is the Kardashians doing with their bodies these days, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so no one really has any actual creeds, but they're still willing to die for them. Now that covers religion, that covers politics, opinions on sexual orientations. Everyone has a lot of these opinions. No one really actually cares, but they are willing to die to pretend they do.
Okay.
And I say no one cares because I open my Facebook every morning and I think to myself, man, that's another chemically burned Syrian child. That is really hard to look at. Damn, that hurts. And then I scroll right down and I'm like, wow, that's a really hot cosplay girl.
Or a cute kitten or whatever it might be.
And if I really thought, if I really in my heart of hearts cared, I would have got up and I would have moved like I did for Charlottesville.
You're so desensitized to the burned child in a foreign country that rather than, well, what do I do? Do I read this article? Do I donate money? Do I call a senator?
No. I'm okay with what I do. I do nothing.
Right.
It's just that simple. I if I wanted to, I suppose I could pool funding and resources and go do something.
That's what I'm saying. You're desensitized. We're all desensitized.
No, I'm just being honest.
No, I know.
That's all it is. It's just like no one's really willing to be that honest these days.
Right.
And like, I heard all the other day during the rally at Boston. one of the socialist speakers, they identified themselves as that. That's why I point that out.
Okay.
But was there that making it, we are here for the people. Today we are here for the friggin' queers, she tells me, and the rest of the 40,000 assembly.
Right.
And that shows me, well, she obviously, the friggin' who? What did you just say? I'm sorry?
No, she was a socialist speaker?
And she's supposedly that, like, they don't even know if they're identifying with each other, or it's just...
Right.
No, like, no one's really being honest with themselves about anything.
Press X, do you see any hope? Because...
Hope is the biggest enemy and the worst possible threat to humanity.
Hope is?
Hope.
Okay, and how, explain that.
It's not until you lose all hope, it's not until you give up hope that you get up and you do some drastic stuff and make a difference.
Okay. Okay. So hope...
So God, I hope there's no hope.
So, okay, well, that's interesting, because what I'm getting from that, and the way you phrase it is very extreme, but I like it in the sense that if you've hit rock bottom, then you can only go up. If you've hit the point
It doesn't even have to be rock bottom. I'm not gonna... I had to replace my car's alternator after all this travel.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
I could have sat my car that no longer turned on and really hoped. I hope my car will turn on. Gosh, I hope this alternator will start again. But you know what worked? I called my friend and said, can you bring me to the junkyard so I can buy a new alternator and throw it in real quick because I got to make a set?
Right. Well, we're saying the same thing in the sense that
in every aspect. Hope
action
is a complete waste of time.
pervades hope. Action so to speak. Action trumps hope.
I'm saying it to even more an extreme degree. The idea of hope, the idea of having hope, the idea of wanting hope is dangerous.
Okay. Because then it becomes a laziness to not do something?
It's more than a laziness. It's an inaction. It's an excuse.
Well, that would be laziness.
It's laziness is not as willful as how I see someone who hopes.
Okay.
I don't want to bring prayer into it, but prayer is another issue that I find similar to hoping.
Okay.
It's like when someone tells me they're praying for my issue.
Sure.
I try to perceive that as thanks. I see that you care. That's really nice of you to say. But then it's at the same time, it's like, well, you knew my issue was I'm starving to death, and you have a fridge full of food. I'm not saying this personally. Like, I don't think any of my friends would let me starve.
Right.
But the thing is, it's just all more lies. Just get up and do it. Just stop making excuses. Just stop giving yourself labels. Just stop doing this, that, or the other thing. Just get up and do what you're supposed to do. You'll have less anxiety.
All right.
You'll sleep better at night.
Have you been in touch with any of the folks that you interviewed for the doc, for the aftermath?
Yep. The woman in front of the police station was considering calling in today.
Right.
And she was considering another thing, but as she was very adamant, her police station down there is not giving her much protection, and the attitude is not in favor of justice.
So she's getting some heat just for being herself, just for speaking down in Charlottesville. So,
like she said, she's a soccer mom.
Right, right.
She's not trying to be involved in all this.
Right.
None of us are. I don't want to do this right now.
Right.
But the problem is we all just sat around and hoped that someone else would do something for too long.
Okay.
So now...
The action has to happen.
No, I don't have any hope. I don't think anyone's going to listen to me. I don't think anyone's going to really pay attention because what I'm saying sounds different. It's not what institutionalized learning facilities, schools, and churches have told you. It's, I educated myself for the most part. I did not finish high school. And I find myself much better for it.
All
right. The indoctrination of separation begins there.
In high school?
Everywhere, every school. Our schools, ask anyone that's ever been to a correctional facility if there are any parallels or what the similarities they see. I, as someone who have been in both settings,
right.
School was preparation. To line up, to shut up, to sit down, to be quiet.
Raise your hand if you have to go to the bathroom.
Here's your
lunch.
ration.
You have to drink the water.
They're just getting you used to it. So as an adult, when you do just have the rare whatever that inspires you to mouth off to a cop, hey man, what you're doing is unfair. Isn't that against the law? Aren't you supposed to enforce the law? They instantly they get your mindset right there, bam, and you're in trouble. And it's the same feeling like when a teacher's yelling at you and you freeze up. and now you're in timeout. But now timeout involves shackles. Timeout might involve some mace, might involve a beatdown. Involves a taser a lot of the time now too. You know, it's just, it's lack of honesty all around. I'm not making a deeper artistic point here. I can't be more adamant about that. Everyone needs to wake the hell up.
Okay. Wake up to what?
I'm not using that in the woke sense of people who are now referring to themselves as being socially aware in the sense of being woke. I'm saying wake up to reality. You're all sleepwalking.
Okay.
None of what we do day to day matters. 90% of the arguing about capitalism versus non-capitalism is a moot point because money is a forced construct on us that has no real value. Why do we collect gold?
Why do we collect gold?
Why is gold our thing?
Chosen? That's
why?
Because someone put a value on it. Now we're also subscribed to it to make metals and jewelry. I suppose.
When? Why?
A while ago.
Metals, I mean, as far as metals go, it's good. It is actually a good conductor.
Right.
It's good for space travel. I doubt they knew that back then.
Sure.
As far as everything else goes, it's soft, it's malleable, it's not very useful for anything else.
Right. So the society hundreds of years ago determined that this gold, we're going to assign a value to it because we want to make jewelry because it looks good around our necklace, as a necklace.
They probably just realized it had the right ratio of availability versus non-availability that it could be used to mount pressure on people.
Societies subscribe to something has worth of, yeah, sure. You could argue that, what is this money? It's a stack of bills with decorations on it. Why should I care? But
it's more than that now. Now it's like monitoring chips and little bars that set off detectors and things like that to know how many 20s you're carrying through the airport.
Right.
I mean, pretty soon it'll be subdermal chips that all of our credits are measured on.
That are implanted in the human body.
Yeah.
Which I would have an issue with, and
which isn't that's no longer crazy conspiracy. I'm okay with talking about that sort of thing because that's actually happening. That's out in the open. That's what I'm saying. Wake up. Wake up. People are being microchipped here. Okay? We have riots on the left and the right. Everyone is crazy. People are dying on both sides for no reason. People are suffering all over the world. All we're doing is funding more military. Wake up. I just don't see how what I'm saying seems radical. I do, but I don't.
You don't seem. You don't see how what you're saying seems radical.
Yeah.
No, I think you're hitting upon a lot of interesting points that people would rather avoid. People would rather avoid hard-hitting conversations, hard-hitting statements, hard-hitting actions because it's easier to watch television. It's easier to listen to an iPod in the gym and not even listen to the music in the gym because you get your own little thing going in your earbuds. You know, it's easier for people.
I do find music actually very important.
Well, I like music too, but my point is people would rather put their little earpods in and kind of have their own little universe of their treadmill throughout their day rather than even engage in music that they didn't happen to choose.
And anyone that knows me actually will tell you I'm more addicted to my phone than most other people. And I'd like to tell you it's always for investigative journalism and hard-hitting things, but it's not.
Right.
I'm guilty of this time waste too.
Sure. There's tons of YouTube videos, tons of videos that people can watch to distract them from the events of the world or their own personal lives.
I'm to the point now where I don't even want to hear your opinion unless you're getting up and going and doing something. If you're just sharing memes or fake checking in from events and stuff like that whole Standing Rock thing, like what level of delusion are you on that you think that you're making a difference or that this is even acceptable? It's insulting.
The Standing Rock thing, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
People were a Native American pipeline incident. You don't remember that a few months ago?
No,
Okay.
I left social media for a few months, thankfully, and kind of reset my own brain.
To garner support for a Native American cause, people were checking in on Facebook from Standing Rock,
okay,
or Sitting Rock, or whatever. I really don't remember if I lost train of thought. I'm sorry, but
okay.
It was annoying. It was insulting. What do you mean you're just fake checking in? What? I care. I care. This is how much I care. I care precisely that much.
So some type of, it's like when the crimes happen in Paris and people put the Paris flag behind their picture.
Yes.
Something to take, 30 seconds and this will show my...
Oh, the funny things about those...
Or I'll dump a bucket of ice over my head for a disease. I won't actually donate money to the disease cure, but I'll dump a bucket of ice on my head and name off some other people.
And this is championed as great behavior, as model behavior.
Right.
As people are supposed to be acting.
Hashtag whatever. Hashtag support. Hashtag this. But no true action other than a hashtag, which is a convenient way to show support, but it doesn't particularly do anything.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
It does nothing.
Right.
How much time do we have?
We've got 7 minutes.
A lot of my way of thought is actually based on a simple idea of there not being actually any such thing as good and evil, as morality as they're explained to us as a concept.
All right.
I believe all actions are motivated by primarily self-preservation, a lot of times perversion, and sometimes just malice.
Okay.
Cruelty, just outward cruelty.
All right.
Wanton violence. Now, just about everything you can name can be listed under these things. Anything you can name that's evil. Tell me something that's evil. What is by nature evil? Not just bad, has a deeper nature of evilness to it.
Okay, child molestation.
That's a common one. That's a pretty common response.
Sure.
I agree. That's pretty disgusting.
Pretty disgusting. That's an evil thing, right?
All right. So evil is the opposite of good, the foe, the dark foe that must be pursued and hunted, right, and killed and sought out. How many child molesters have you personally hunted?
I haven't hunted any.
So I mean, it's evil, but not that evil that you're going to actually do anything.
But I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to killing or bringing child molesters to some type of justice or therapy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so can you really even tell, like, is it really evil? Because if it was evil, I feel like, yeah, if there's evil out there, we got to go kill evil.
Then we drop whatever we're doing and make a personal quest to stamp it out.
Yeah. Child molesters are just perverts. They're just sickos. It's just humans with, like, faulty wiring that need to be removed from society before they can harm anyone, or harm anyone further in most cases. Most other things, do not murder. It's more like, hey man, I don't want to be murdered. I don't want my family to get murdered. What about you? You probably don't want to get murdered either, right?
Not today, no.
All right, cool. So let's just all agree. Everyone cool with no murder?
Right.
No murder, right? Okay, we won't murder. Same thing with rape. You see, I got this girlfriend. I really like her. I also got some sisters. So let's just go ahead and not rape anyone, right? You know, and that's what we're really dealing with. It's not good and evil. It's self-preservation. It's varying levels of delinquency, chemical imbalances.
What do you mean by delinquency and chemical imbalances? You kind of lost me there.
Some people are mentally ill.
Okay.
They're born with chemical imbalances and other things in their brain that schizophrenia.
Sure.
Are you going to hold a schizophrenic to the same, like, when a schizophrenic murders someone in some really bizarre, cruel way, are they evil? No, they're sick, right? There's not really, but if this other person who's got better brain chemistry murders a similar person in a similar way, they're evil. They're a monster, a demon.
Well,
it's just bull.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many topics that we're kind of mixing and mashing here. You're saying that that's not the case.
It's all one.
It's all one topic, which is what?
That our entire conscious life and existence is fabricated on imposed constructs.
Okay.
Fake notions, wishes and hopes. None of it's real.
So if none of it's real, is anything real in your opinion?
I'm not a nihilist. We are existent right now, and I don't think it's in like some sort of simulation or anything.
Okay.
But no, no, nothing's real. Nothing. Like, look outside. How many of the buildings and businesses are necessary for functional life? McDonald's is poison.
I would agree with that.
McDonald's should not exist.
Having done some research into
like,
the nature of their products,
I'm just using that as an example. Like, most of the things we like not only live and slave our whole lives away to do, not only aren't they meaningful or important, they're harmful. They're negative. They're killing us. Nothing we do is real. No part of our life is real. I can't be any more clear.
I tell you to go outside and get some sunshine, but there's an eclipse going on, so that's not going to help either. Press X, we've got about 3 minutes left. Do you have a mantra that you live by? I'm trying to put some humor into this thing before I go. But is there any mantra that Press X?
If you want to know it. Yeah, I'm going to quote Bill and Ted. Be excellent to one another.
I can live with that.
You know, a lot of the things I say aggressively.
Right.
I say them to get your attention, you know?
Sure.
But in all reality, above all, I love liberty. And I mean that in the deepest sense. I mean the liberty to let everyone live how they want to live. Let them love how they want to love. Complete liberty. That's it. That's the moral of the story.
All right.
Honesty.
Well, I want to, first of all, I want to, again, applaud you on your doc, Aftermath, and kudos to you and your editor for getting this thing together.
Thanks. I had some help from the guy you see running around in the background in a few places there is my assistant Squirrel. I had some help from him.
Yep. I would give I'm not sure if I should mention her name, but a good friend of mine, I'll just use her first name, introduce me to you.
Yes, I'm very, very grateful. She actually has been stayed in contact with me and noticed that you know, the past few weeks have been an effect on me, and she's been really great. I appreciate you connecting, or you know what I'm saying?
Right. I'll just for her safety, we'll just give her a private thank you without naming her name for her. And hey, you know, I think that the things that we've talked about on this show, so many issues. To me, it's so many issues. You might say it's all one issue. I'd say it's a lot of issues. But I'd say the triumph in your film that I will just say now is that you can't judge a book by its cover, and I'll go into several situations. The two guys from Miami on the outside looked like at a restaurant or something and smoking a cigarette.
Oh,
you would look
I
at these.
loved that.
They were great guys. You would look at these
it.
guys and you'd say, oh, okay, these are just a couple of, you know,
good old boys.
Good old boys, rednecks, or just whatever. And then they were saying some really intelligent things. The young guy in the head shop is a big sports fan. Well, you look at this guy and say, oh, here's a hippie. He likes to smoke a joint or burn some incense. But he's talking about shows that I watch, you know, the sports shows. Probably watches more of them than I do. And he's very informed, and he's kind of talking about Kaepernick and Stephen A. Smith and Max.
Surprise you when you ask
right.
people, that's why I talk the way I do. When I just ask you flat out something, you know, abrasive, or tell you something abrasive, I'm going to startle you into honesty. That's honestly my goal at all times.
Right.
And that's what the things you're appreciating right there. That was people dropping the BS for a bit. That's what human beings are really like when they're not rioting and raging and classifying themselves.
Press X.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Thanks for watching this very special episode of Messier Mantra. We'll see you next time.